Welcome to our meditation class. We're in a series called New Year Brings New Hope. And today's topic is becoming more mentally and physically healthy. So I think that's a very important thing that we can give to ourselves, is to really focus on becoming more physically and mentally healthy. So to begin, one of the first steps to do that is meditation. So let's engage in a meditation to reduce the busyness in our mind and to bring mental peace into our mind. So find a comfortable chair with your back straight and preferably without arms on it so that you can have a comfortable meditation posture with your hands right hand on left and thumbs touching, tucked close to your abdomen, and have your feet firmly planted on the floor to support your body. If you're on a cushion, have your hips higher in the back than in the front. And any cross-legged position that's comfortable is appropriate. If you can get into what's known as half vajra, with one foot on the opposite thigh, that's a very stable posture, but only if it's comfortable. We want our body to remain as comfortable as possible during meditation. And have your head well balanced over your straight back with your eyes comfortably closed or a little bit open if you have very stable eyelids, just letting a tiny bit of light in to keep yourself more alert during meditation. And place your tongue resting against the back of your upper teeth. So we're going to follow the steps of meditation, seeking and finding our object of meditation, which is going to be the feeling that our breath is making just inside the tip of our nose as we breathe completely normally and naturally. This is a wonderful preparatory meditation because we can do it under all circumstances. It doesn't matter how much noise is in the background, as long as it's a dull roar. Obviously, a very loud noise would be difficult to meditate with, but normal household noise, this meditation's a perfect one to do. So you want basically to stay focused once you find that feeling that your breath is making at the tip of your nose, which is a little bit warmer as you breathe in and a little bit cooler as you breathe out. Once you find that, you want to hold it in the center of your attention in a very relaxed but definite way, and most importantly, to ignore everything else that's also appearing to your mind, whether it's sounds or whether it's thoughts or whether it's physical sensations and so forth. It's okay that it's all there. We just don't want to pay any attention to it. We don't want to try to get rid of it. We're not disappointed that our mind is busy. We simply want to stay focused on the feeling that our breath is making while we keep our breathing completely normal. And the longer we can remain focused on it, the more our other thoughts will seem to go to the background of our mind, and we'll begin to feel as if we're in the midst of that breath, that feeling of the breath, and we'll begin to experience more peace within our mind. So sometime during the meditation, or maybe frequently during the meditation, you're going to discover that you're thinking about something else. When that happens, we don't want to be disappointed at all. We simply want to release our attention from that thought that distracted us. And we want to go again through the steps of meditation, seeking and finding the feeling our breath is making, holding it in the center of our attention in a relaxed but definite way, and remaining focused on it, ignoring everything else. So each time we do it, it's a practice round, and we're training our mind to meditate. So periodically, just briefly check, are you meditating Or are you thinking about something else? So we also have to develop this wonderful ability in our mind, which we call alertness, to, in a very gentle way, to check and make sure that we're still meditating. And the longer we hold our object of meditation, the more we're increasing our mindfulness, which is our memory function. And gradually, if we just repeat these steps over and over again, we will be able to increase the time that we can hold our object of meditation and decrease the time that it takes for us to find our object of meditation because we become familiar with it. So this is a wonderful meditation to train yourself how to meditate. And it's also great because you can use it in your daily life to reduce the busyness in your mind and to bring some mental peace into it, whether you're at home or work or, you know, whatever your circumstances are. Okay, so let's try it out now. So just check your meditation posture again and make sure that your back is straight and your hands are comfortably in your lap and that your body is as comfortable as possible. Now we want to create a mental intention to follow the steps of meditation so that we can bring mental peace into our mind and reduce our distractions. And we can then use our mental peace to benefit others throughout our day. Begin to pay attention to your breath as you breathe normally and naturally through your nose. And find that feeling just inside the tip of your nose that your breath is making. That feeling's always there because you're always breathing. If for some reason your nose is stuffy, you can open your mouth just a little bit and breathe through your mouth and feel a similar sensation as the air enters your mouth. But focusing on the feeling of the air entering your nostrils is preferable if you can breathe through your nose. And while staying focused on that feeling, gradually allow your awareness to descend to your heart center, which is in the center of your body at the level of your heart. You'll be able to perceive that feeling very clearly there. Stay focused on the feeling of your breath in a relaxed but definite way and remain focused on it for as long as possible, ignoring everything else happening in your mind. We can pause. And experience whatever greater inner peace we've created within our mind. This inner peace is an indication of our completely pure potential. We can be so joyful we have this capacity. And if we wish, we can open our hearts to receiving blessings from holy beings and experience more inner peace. Try to sustain whatever greater peace and quiet you've developed within your mind as you gently come out of meditation. Welcome again. Okay, so back to our topic, becoming more mentally and physically healthy. The last week, we looked at gaining confidence to overcome bad habits, which included understanding how bad habits develop, the harm they cause us, and how to overcome them by applying the specific teachings that Buddha gives us that work so well when we apply them in a consistent and determined way. We do what we wish to do. So in today's class, we're going to look at established good habits that result in becoming more mentally and physically healthy. So it's a well-known fact that if we're more mentally healthy, we are likely to be more physically healthy, even if we're sick or have a chronic illness. For example, feeling depressed impairs our immune system, and depressed people recover less well from surgery and major illness. We also know that serious mental problems reduces longevity, and anger predisposes people to cardiac problems and so forth. So there's lots of literature that you can look up about this that's available. On the other side, physical health also affects mental health. So certain diseases often result in depression or anxiety. And exercise is often used to reduce anxiety and to brighten one's thoughts. So there's a lot of information out there about all these things. Okay. The interesting thing is Buddha was teaching this 2,600 years ago, and what he teaches is completely relevant for our modern times. So I thought in this class we would start about how the physical improves our mental well-being. Okay. So 2,600 years ago and in Buddhism today, Buddha encouraged us to engage in a physical activity that's also a mental activity and a verbal activity called prostrations. And in this, we develop deep respect for the qualities of the holy beings, the enlightened beings, and those who've attained liberation, and those who are bodhisattvas, beings who are determined that they're going to attain enlightenment and who have high realization, and even ordinary beings who are really being very virtuous and benefiting others. So we want to have deep respect, actually, for every single living being, and prostrations help us to develop this. So basically, we praise their good qualities. We praise the good qualities of holy beings. We can think of the good qualities of those we know. And then we physically drop to the ground, okay, in a motion that's similar to a push-up. So there's something called half prostrations, and there's something called full prostrations, okay. So the most important aspect is the mental prostration, but the physical prostration is a wonderful way to maintain our strength and health. So Buddha listed a number of benefits of doing prostrations, which include a healthy and beautiful body. Okay, so a wonderful. And we know that physical exercise helps our body to be in the best shape and the most attractive that it can be. But prostrations created not just for this life, but for our future lives, because we're creating the causes, the karma, the potentialities in our mind, which will later produce experiences, not just in this life, but in our future lives. The second one is rebirth in an honored family. So how wonderful. We all need rebirth in good families that are virtuous and honored. You know. It also creates the cause for a great circle of assistance. So how wonderful, a great circle of friends, a great circle of people who help us. Why? Because we're showing respect to others. It's very important to understand that the mental prostration is very important in that we carry this mind of respect throughout our day towards whomever we meet. You know. So obviously we're going to stay socially appropriate. We're not going to drop to the ground when we see someone, which actually in Eastern countries, and particularly in the past in Buddhism, whenever an ordained person appeared, people would prostrate. But that was considered socially normal. In our country, that's not socially normal. So, you know, we say hi to each other, and in these days of COVID, of course, we can't touch, but you know, when COVID is over and so forth, we have appropriate greetings according to our society. So another wonderful advantage is that we receive respect from others. So what goes around comes around. You know, we reap what we sow. So if we're keeping our mind respectful and we're also physically practicing to keep our body healthy, prostrations towards holy beings, then we ourselves are going to receive respect from others as a karmic consequence. Okay. And it creates a cause for abundant resources. So how wonderful. We all need resources so that we can live comfortably in what we call the middle way. In other words, having enough food, enough shelter, you know, in our society, electricity, running water, plumbing, and so forth, which then gives us the opportunity to more comfortably focus on our spiritual development. And it creates the many benefits of being able to listen to Buddha's teachings. When we prostrate to the holy beings, we're creating causes to meet teachers and meet qualified teachings and qualified teachers. How wonderful. It increases our faith in the enlightened beings and in their teachings and in our spiritual friends. And it creates a good and vast memory. So that one's very wonderful because we know, for example, that physical exercise improves our memory in the short run. There's lots of evidence about that in our modern life. So as I say, Buddha was teaching all of this 2,600 years ago. He knew all of these advantages. And it brings about great wisdom because when we respect those who have more realizations than we do, for example, then we yearn, we develop what's called admiring faith in wishing faith, we yearn to become just like them. And then we put forth effort to gain the realizations that they've already gained. And being respectful is one of the ways to do that. And it improves our concentration, a deep and fast realization of concentration. So again, staying physically healthy keeps our mind much more clear, and our ability to use our mindfulness and alertness and meditation to improve our concentration is much easier if we're physically fit and physically healthy. And it purifies our negative karma from the harmful actions that we've produced in the past. So you can see many of these benefits are mental benefits. So this is where physical activity, along with this mental attitude, really creates both physical health and mental health. Actually, I can attest from this from my own experience about how protective it is. So I did physical prostrations for years. I did full-length prostrations, which are sort of like a full-length push-up. I can't demonstrate them to you in this class because unfortunately I have a knee replacement and it doesn't allow me to do these physical prostrations anymore because my knee doesn't bend that much. But there's something called half prostrations where you get down on the ground on all fours and you put your head on the ground. And then there's a full-length prostration where you get down on all fours, but you extend your body out and then you push up from that extended position to get back up. So anyway, I was doing both full and half prostration. And one day I was walking when our center was over on Charles Street, and the sidewalks, as we all know in Baltimore City, are very uneven. And I tripped and fell face forward and basically caught myself on my hands, face forward, full length. And I had enough strength from my prostrations that I then could lower myself gently to the ground and get up. And the only injury I had was some abrasions on my hand where I hit the rough pavement. So these things are prostrations are very protective, and you never know when you're going to need that type of bodily strength, So we practice the middle way in our tradition. So we need inner peace, but we also need good physical health. So Venerable Geshe Kelsang says in Transform Your Life, he says, we need inner peace, but we also need good physical health. And for this, we need certain external conditions, such as food and a comfortable environment in which to live. By the way, I'm teaching from this book, How to Transform Your Life, which is by our lineage holder, is in the picture behind me, Venerable Geshe Kelsang Gyatso. A wonderful book for both beginners and experienced people. I teach from it a lot, as if you've been coming to our classes, you know. He goes on to say, after he says that we need certain external conditions, such as food and a comfortable environment in which to live, there are many people who concentrate exclusively on developing the material side of their life while completely ignoring spiritual practice. So you can ask yourself, is that my situation? This is one extreme, he says. However, there are other people who concentrate exclusively on spiritual practice while ignoring the material conditions that are necessary for supporting a healthy human life. This is another extreme. We need to maintain a middle way that avoids both extremes of materialism and spirituality. And he also says in a later section in the same book, if we try to live without basic necessities such as sufficient food and shelter, we will probably damage our health and undermine our capacity to benefit others. He says, caring for ourselves is not self-cherishing, okay? In other words, It's not, we can care for ourselves without being sort of having obsessive self-concern. He says, we can take care of our health, have a job, look after our house and possessions solely out of concern for others' welfare. So what a lovely way to consider taking care of ourselves and our possessions and our family and our work and so forth, to keep our intentions constantly beneficial for others. You know, if we view our body, he says, as an instrument with which we can benefit others, we can feed it, clothe it, wash it, rest it, exercise, all without self-cherishing. Just as an ambulance driver can take care of his vehicle without regarding it as his own, so we can take care of our body and possessions for the benefits of others. So what a wonderful attitude. And I would say that it's actually very important to get physical exercise. I'm walking pretty extensively during COVID to keep my physical health. And I hope that many of you have come up with ways that you can maintain your physical exercise and physical health, because as I pointed out, there's so many studies now which show that exercise really improves longevity, and we need a long life to make spiritual progress, and you need a long life for your family and for your other activities as well. So it's so important that we really think about, am I eating properly? Am I sleeping properly? Because we know there's plenty of evidence that not getting enough sleep reduces immune function and also reduces our ability to think clearly. So we all know that because we've had nights where we haven't gotten very much sleep. And it also makes us much more prone to intense emotions, like feeling really upset about something, that if you'd gotten a good night's sleep, you wouldn't be nearly distressed as you were if you got 4 hours of sleep or something like that. So we need to get enough sleep. We need to get enough food, an appropriate food, not just junk food, but food that's healthy for our body. You know, we need to get exercise and take care of our health. You know, so that's very important in our practice of the middle way, which is, you know, to keep ourselves healthy so that we have the energy to pursue our spiritual development, and we have the energy to take care of our families. We have the energy to be a good friend. We have the energy to do competent work at our job. We have the energy to oppose our delusions. That's particularly important because it takes energy to decide, I don't want to be angry, even though I notice I'm getting annoyed in this situation. Instead, I'm going to practice patience. You know, that takes clear thinking and mental energy, and then we have to apply the practice of keeping our mind peaceful and happy. I don't want anger in my mind. I'm not going to follow those thoughts. I'm going to think of the good qualities that someone has, not bad qualities. So all of that takes healthy body and healthy mind. So now we can look at how our mental state affects our physical state. Okay. So I'm going to use an example of a very powerful meditation that Buddha taught, and it's called taking and giving. Okay. So Venerable Geshe Kelsang says again, in How to Transform Your Life, through practicing the meditations on taking and giving with strong compassion for all living beings, the potential to be able to benefit all living beings will come to fruition, will ripen. You know? And when this happens, we will become an enlightened being, a Buddha. So how wonderful. It's very encouraging for those people who have as their deepest wish to become an enlightened being, to have the perfect skill to benefit others. You know, it takes extraordinary skill to be helpful to any living being, you know. And most of us, because we don't have enough realizations, we don't have that type of skill, even though we wish strongly we did. And that's part of what motivates us in our spiritual development. And if you're in a different spiritual path, it's probably motivating you in your spiritual development as well, you know. So he goes on to say, taking in this context means taking others' sufferings upon ourselves through meditation. Okay, so this is a mental activity. When we start our practice of taking and giving, we do not need to think too much about how it is possible to relieve others' suffering through the power of our imagination alone. Okay. In other words, we're just going to do this using our imagination, and we don't want to get caught up in doubts, because if we have doubts, then we're not going to effectively be able to wholeheartedly engage in this meditation. And the results come when we wholeheartedly engage. We suspend our doubts and we just decide, okay, I'm going to use my imagination in this meditation. He says instead, we should simply practice taking and giving with a good motivation, understanding it to be a supreme method. So that's important, that it's a supreme method for increasing our good fortune, okay, and the power of our concentration. So we get a lot of benefits from this meditation. This practice, here's some more benefits coming, also causes our mind and actions to become pure. So it purifies negativity in our mind so that we can accomplish everything easily. So the wonderful thing about accumulating a lot of good fortune is the more good fortune we have, the easier it is to fulfill our virtuous or beneficial wishes towards others. And if we remove the obstacles from being able to do that by purifying our mind, then we can accomplish everything virtuous or everything that's going to be beneficial for others easily. He continues, through sincere training, our meditation on taking and giving will become so powerful that we will develop the ability directly to take on the suffering of others and give them happiness. So that's a very high realization. It's not going to happen until we're absolutely ready for it and our mind is much more pure than it is now. And actually, the interesting thing is by the time we have the ability to take on the suffering of others, we ourselves are not experiencing any suffering. So that's important to understand that's the end, sort of an end result of higher realizations. Okay. There are many examples of accomplished practitioners using the power of their concentration to take on suffering of other beings with whom they have a karmic connection. So that's very important, you know. So there's some examples in how to transform your life and in Joyful Path of Good Fortune, which has the benefits of prostrations in it. So I brought it along to show you. Okay. So there are 4 main benefits. I'm going to go back to benefits because we do what we wish to do, and what makes us wish to do something is understanding the benefits of doing something. Okay. There are 4 main benefits of the meditation on taking and giving. This again is in How to Transform Your Life. They are powerful methods. 1, to purify the potentialities of non-virtuous actions that causes us to experience serious diseases, such as cancer. Okay, so this is why I am teaching this to you, because this is how mental action affects our physical well-being. And there are many examples of people who have basically cured their cancer, put it into remission through practicing these teachings. So I know of someone personally who did that. She had breast cancer and had positive nodes and had appropriate medical treatment for all of that, including chemo and so forth and so on. And then she was a serious Buddhist practitioner, Kadampa Buddhist practitioner, and she spent a lot of time practicing taking and giving. And also, she would use this precious book, Joyful Path of Good Fortune, which is the extensive explanation of all the stages of the path to enlightenment. And so she would put it on her chest as a healing technique. Okay. And she had great faith in this. So about 2 years after her original, she did fine during her first 2 years, and about 2 years after her original discovery of cancer, when she went in for a 6-month checkup, and they did x-rays, they found all of these nodes inside her mediastinum and chest. And so it looked like she had a recurrence of cancer, and she also had blood levels and so forth, which would support that she had a recurrence of cancer. So they were scheduled to do surgery, to go in and see what they could remove and so forth. And she practiced taking and giving, this meditation that I'm going to teach you in just a few minutes. And she used Joyful Path of Good Fortune on her chest. And when they did the surgery and opened her up, they found nothing. It had all dissolved. So that's a completely true story, because I know the person that it happened to. And these methods of using our spiritual mind to reduce our physical suffering are incredibly powerful. I mean, even learning to meditate in such a way to reduce physical pain. There are many meditations that we can do to reduce physical pain, for example, is very helpful for those who have physical pain. So anyway, back to these 4 main benefits. Remember, the first 2 was purifying the negativity that we've already accumulated through harmful actions towards others, and which then we purify the potentials, the negative potentials that would cause serious illness or that would sustain serious illness like cancer. The second benefit is that we accumulate a great collection of merit or good fortune. And the third one is it ripens our potentiality to be able to benefit all living beings in an effective way. And of course, it purifies our mind. So these are wonderful advantages. So just to emphasize this again, Venerable Geshe Kelsang says, meditating on taking and giving can be very effective in curing disease. By taking on the sickness and suffering of others with a mind of compassion, we can purify the negative karma that causes the continuation of our disease. Although we should always seek medical advice when we are ill, so this is very important because, again, practicing the middle way means that we do things that accord with our society. So if we get sick, we go try to get appropriate medical treatment. So although we should always seek medical advice when we are ill, there may be times when doctors are unable to help us, or maybe they can do palliative things, but they can't cure whatever we've got. There are many stories in Tibet of people curing themselves of otherwise incurable diseases through sincerely meditating on taking and giving. So here's an example. There was a meditator called Karak Gomchen who contracted a disease that doctors were unable to cure. Thinking he was going to die, he gave away all his possessions as an offering to Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, and retired to the cemetery, where he intended to make the last few weeks of his life meaningful by meditating on taking and giving. Okay. However, through his practice of taking and giving, he purified the karma that was perpetuating his illness, and much to everyone's surprise, returned home completely cured. And this shows us how powerful the practice of taking and giving can be. Okay, and there are other examples, but I wanted to give you an example of someone I personally knew who used this, because sometimes we can think, oh yeah, this happened in ancient times. Actually, some of these examples that Venerable Geshe-la uses are people that he actually knew when he was in Tibet. So it's not ancient times, it's just recent past. But my example is in the very recent past of someone that I knew quite well. Okay. So he says, whenever we are experiencing a particular problem, whether from sickness, lack of resources, or our delusions, in other words, maybe we have intense attachment to something, or maybe we have intense anger about something, we can think about the countless sentient beings, which are living beings, people, and so animals, who are experiencing similar problems. And then with a compassionate motivation, we imagine taking on their suffering. This will help us deal with our own problem, and by purifying the negative karma that prolongs the problem, may even rid us of it. So how wonderful. If we're suffering from strong attachment, for example, we can consider all those who are also suffering from attachment, develop compassion for them, and imagine we take on all their attachment together with the suffering it causes. This is a powerful method for destroying our attachment. Okay. So we're going to have to do this many times in meditation, to experience the lessening of our sickness or our bad habits or our problems. But if we're consistent, if we meditate on this frequently, this is a very effective method to reducing our symptoms or like the experience of the pain of illness or our bad habits and so forth. Okay. So along with taking, we also can practice giving, which is where it's based on wishing love. And, what we're going to do in that, because we're going to do this meditation just in a minute. Okay. Basically, we realize that living beings lack pure happiness, and we're naturally develop a sincere wish to lead all living beings to the state of happiness. And this is universal wishing love. Okay. So our temporary happiness is just changing suffering, because if we keep doing the thing that we think is bringing about happiness, then we start to suffer again. So sad, actually. But, If we overeat, we're miserable, even though when we started to eat, it seemed like that is what was going to really make us happy. You know, even if we stay in the bathtub too long, we start to feel miserable. You know, everything operates that way. Okay. So we are going to practice meditation. We're going to practice taking by means of compassion, and we're going to take on the specific suffering of particular groups, okay? So why don't we prepare ourselves for meditation? Be thinking of a bad habit or a physical illness that you have or pain, something that you specifically want to reduce in your life, okay? And what we're going to do now is get into a correct meditation posture with our back straight and our hands comfortably in our lap, and we'll engage in liberating prayer, which will help us to remove some obstacles from our meditation and increase our positivity so that we can actually really focus on this meditation. And if you wish, you can open your hearts to receive blessings from the holy being, Buddha Shakyamuni, the founder of Buddhism. Of course, in every generation, there have been many men and women who become enlightened beings. He just was the one who introduced these teachings in this world system. So let's engage in that. You can make prayers for others if you wish. And then I'll guide the meditation on taking and giving. Okay. Try to contemplate the meaning of the words.
O blessed one, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind, and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my be fulfilled, and may holy Dharma flourish forevermore.
Okay. Music's still playing. It's still playing, at least in my earphones. Okay. Well, we got a second dose of liberating prayer. At least I did. I'm not sure what happened on your end. Okay. Find a comfortable position with your back straight and your hands in your lap. And think about a specific sickness or pain that you're experiencing. And imagine that you are surrounded by everyone you know and everyone you don't know, including animals, who are also experiencing that specific sickness or pain. To use your imagination to bring all these people and animals near you. We then think, these living beings experience the suffering of sickness and pain in this life and in their countless future lives without end. How wonderful it would be if these living beings were permanently freed from sickness. May they achieve this. I myself will work for them to achieve this. I must do this. So holding on to that thought, we imagine that the suffering and pain of all these living beings gathers together in the aspect of black smoke. And this black smoke dissolves into all of our self-cherishing, all of our obsessive self-concern, where we feel more important than others, at our heart. And we strongly believe that all these living beings are permanently freed from sickness. And that all of our self-cherishing is completely destroyed. And we meditate on this belief with a mind of joy for as long as possible. Spend a few minutes. If you lose your belief, go back through the meditation. So we're using our imagination. Everything starts in imagination. Really believe that you have released all these living beings from their sickness and suffering. and that your own obsessive self-concern, where you feel more important than others, is completely destroyed. All your mistaken appearance is completely destroyed. We can think, all these living beings wish to be happiness. They wish to be happy all the time, but they do not know how to do this. They never experience real happiness because out of ignorance, they destroy their own happiness by developing delusions such as anger, and performing harmful actions. How wonderful it would be if all these living beings experience pure and everlasting happiness. May they experience this happiness. I will now give my own future happiness of enlightenment to each and every living being. Thinking in this way, we imagine that from our continuously residing body at our heart, we emanate infinite rays of lights, which are in the nature of our future permanent peace and happiness. These reach all living beings, and we strongly believe that each and every living being experiences pure and everlasting peace and happiness. We meditate on this belief for the rest of the meditation session. And we can dedicate so that each and every living being can be permanently free from suffering and experience pure and lasting happiness. And we also dedicate that we can learn and continue to practice these very powerful methods of meditation to increase our physical and mental health. And we can gently come out of meditation. Thank you very much for coming to today's class. We will have a guest, Gen Menla, Gen Kelsang Menla, who used to be our administrator here, is going to be giving a weekend course at the end of January. So You can check out all the details on our website, and I hope that you'll be able to join us for this very special event. It's always such a great honor to have Gen Minma teach at KMC Maryland. We're so happy that he is doing this. And next week's class is Patients with Long-Term Difficulties. So we continue to make prayers for yours, family, you, and everyone's health and safety in this very difficult time of the pandemic and the turmoil in our country and in the world.